just scouting about. It also let me see when he was breaking these rocks, because although it doesn't seem like much, I can actually see his forces here. So I actually know that the rocks are being broken. And he sees the Zerg and takes it out. But at this point I already know. So I move right away. Now, I wasn't on top of my creep spread, I wasn't on top of my macro. But at least, right now, I had a larger army. Here with his Hellion, he'll take out this other Zergling. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Now he's got a decent spot here, with the two medevacs up top, but that's... Again, if I had had just a couple of Mutalisks, that's what it would have taken. I'm not on top of my spawn larva, I'm not on top of my creep spread. Although, it's only now I finally noticed this SCV. And I kind of wondered to myself at the time, how long had he been there? And it's when I watched the replay the very first time. Keep an eye on those watchtowers. Now normally for Roach Hydra you want to have more roaches than Hydralisks. Noticeably more roaches. But if your opponent is going heavy air or heavy marauder, you probably want more Hydralisks. Better still, you want some air units, right? Now he's taken the expansion. I haven't even broken rocks here. So now it's going to be... He's going to be on 3 base, I'm going to be on 2. Really, he's going to be gathering minerals from only 2 bases. Because his main's about to run out. Now I saw those Vikings come up here, and I already had an Overlord just sitting down here. So they weren't particularly effective. And as soon as he saw the forces run here, he probably should have hightailed it out of here. Because the Hydras and the Roaches would just deal with Vikings on the ground so quickly. There's really not much that they can do. Now some of the things that would have been effective here, and shall I mention that this isn't it, is either getting a drop up here, rather than let this Viking try to take down my Overseer, send out another one just to get his attention. Amusingly, I don't think he killed either of them. Because meanwhile there was a big engagement here, which needless to say did not go so well for me. Again, a drop up here. Notice the Nidus Worm that I actually brought out here, which he interestingly didn't do anything about. And it's filled with Banelings. I didn't realize at the time that the minerals were pretty much gone. So this was a largely wasted attack. I had really hoped to do a little more damage than this. And now he was moving in, and I really needed to do something about that. Because if you look at units, well, it's a lot of Hydralisks that I brought out. This is actually probably a decent counter to this force, because the Marauders aren't going to be doing the extra damage, and the Medevacs can get taken out, which both of them do. And so that's one of the rare times that Hydralisks alone, without Roaches, ends up being effective. Now, another thing to consider is now he's not really doing a whole lot here. This probably would have been another good time to pop in another worm, maybe even up here. Now, up here it wouldn't have done a whole lot. It would have been able to pick off the refinery, that's about it. Or sit up here and prevent him from getting forces here, but really that's not overly effective. Mutalisks now, 2 siege tanks and a planetary fortress, a bunch of siege tanks, only 4 marines. He had very, very little anti-air. This is what you want to look for when you're scouting, or when you're looking at your enemy's army composition. You see extremely little anti-air, good indication that air is what you want to use. I only now finally put up my 3rd, but he's taking the island expansion down at the bottom right, which is going to put him way ahead of me again. And if you look at the income tab, I mean, it tells the whole story, doesn't it? He's got very little gas coming in, but mineral-wise, you just see the huge difference here. Even though he's got less harvesters, my problem is this. There's very few harvesters, or a bunch of harvesters yeah, I can speak English. It's all good. Very few harvesters over a depleted mineral field. Now I noticed this very shortly before it depleted, so I brought them over, bring them into the, I brought them over to the high yield. Sorry, the rich mineral field. Anyone who saw Starcraft 2 in the beta knows that they were previously called high yield minerals, and some still call them that, whether by accident or not. Now, he's got his forces all gathered up here. He's got a few more Marines than he had before, but for the most part, Marauders and Siege Tanks. One lonely Viking over here as well. He's kept a Viking on patrol this whole game, right up here, to prevent exactly what I ended up doing at some point, the Nidus drop, which is actually a good strategy to do. It'll make sure that you know what's going on up there. Now at this point, both of us have been sitting on our bases quite a long time. He's definitely got the army advantage now, though. 127 to 102. This is more than my force could deal with at any point. Now he's sitting on the creep. I know what he has. I can see it, but of course I don't react to it, and that in the end is going to cause my downfall. I've got Zerglings, Roaches, and Hydralisks, and really against a force like this, maybe the Zerglings can tank a little bit of damage so that the others can deal damage, but there's really not a whole lot I can do at this point. Get the Roaches and Zerglings to come in, the Hydralisks follow up behind. With the tanks in siege mode, there's really not much this force can do. Now I decided to focus down the tanks, but by then I have so little left that I can't really fight them off. And now that they're dragging the Roaches back into the siege tank range, it's really, at this point, it's over. 117 to 67. Among those 67, 39 are drones, and 4 are Singularity. It's bad news. Lots and lots of Zerglings coming out just to make sure that I can at least do something about it. Crackling speed coming in here. He doesn't have any upgrades on his tanks. He's got 1-1 on his Marauders. The tanks go down, the Marauders go down, but at this point, really, what am I going to do? He's already built up his force here, mainly Marauders and Marines. He's got 1 siege tank in a defensive position, but then 2 more coming in to join the force. At this point, I was at least hoping that he didn't have a whole lot left. But again, I see this whole force coming in, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do now? What I really would have needed at this point is Banemans and air units. Certainly Baneman. Hydralisks aren't. A few Hydralisks are not going to be enough to stop a force like this. Really, the best thing I would have done is to stop him from massing this up in the first place, and actually keeping some pressure on him all the time before it's too late, basically. I cancelled those 3 because I didn't want to waste the resources, but at the same time, 12 Hydralisks. 12 Hydralisks against this, needless to say, 12 against 28. You take your pick. I'm pretty sure I know what I'd be putting my money on, especially given that we're not talking about, say, 12 Ultralisks or something like that. So at this point, there's not much more that can be done. So I'll let you watch the end of the game. I'm going to say that I'm going to be bringing some of the other ladder games. I'm not going to bring all of them. I've got a few interesting ones that I want to put in, but I'm pretty sure even you guys don't want to see every single game I played. I don't think it would be particularly entertaining, you know? hey, if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna have these coming out every now and again, at least a couple a week. That